Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jeff Dunphy from Retooling the World. And today we're going to chat about an age-old question that I've posited with many students over the years. The question is, if you could sit at the feet of any of the masters and ask them one question, just one, and it doesn't matter which of the masters, whether it's Kuan Yin or Jesus or Buddha or Lao Tzu or Paramahansa Yogananda, or it doesn't matter, any of the masters, and ask them one question, what would the question be? Now, I used to posit this to students in the university system as well as in the lamasery. I used to posit this to students and say, and give them a day or two to think about it, and it would discombobulate many of them because it's a big question. Now, the kicker on this question is the question would spur an answer, but the question would open up possibilities that would be absolutely life-changing, okay? And the life-changing aspect of the answer to this question is a big one. So if you feel up to it, turn the video off for a moment and think about what would you ask? What would you ask to whoever it would be? And then just think on it, because we left this question with the student body in our history. We left it to them for 2 or 3 days until somebody actually came up with the answer. Okay, so now if in fact you've stopped the video and you've come back to the video, now let's posit what it might be, or rather, what is the best question you can ask any master in terms of the likelihood, the answer to which would be absolutely evolutionary and also revelatory for you. And the answer is, how can I be of service? So now, most people think that the concept, how can I be of service, is I've got to go to the soup kitchen and serve soup. And yes, that is service. But now let's talk about the expansive nature, the multifaceted true answer to that. How can I be of service? So probably first and foremost is, how can I be of service to my genius? How can I be of service to my higher self, my Godhead, whatever, however you want to coin it. But how is that, do we make that manifest? So now let's chat about part of our endeavor is to create an environment, a personality, the packaging, the physical, the emotional, and the mental bodies. How can we create a packaging that is perfectly in the flow of taking direction from the soul or the higher self? So now let's deal with the physical body. How do we honor our physical body? How do we honor it with our food intake? Are you aware of what really nourishes you? Or are you aware of how important organic foods are? Are you aware of any allergies or any foods that don't agree with you, but even though they taste really good, you eat them anyway, and then you suffer the slings and arrows of that food revisiting itself on you, or giving you an upset tummy, or having you break out in rashes or whatever. So how is it that you choose your food and drink? Are you aware of how important good water is? All of that. How do you serve your body? Now, how is it next that you serve your emotions? Now, emotions are very important to us on planet Earth, and we have an emotional spectrum that is very, very wide. So the emotional spectrum of the joy and the glee on the one hand, and the depths of despair on the other, those are big. But how is it that you best serve your emotions, your emotional body? So, are you aware of things that trigger you? Oh, my goodness, when my dad says this, or my husband or wife says this, I get really upset because... And how is it that you are aware of those buttons that are your triggers, okay? How is it that your emotions run you, and how is it that you are aware of your emotions to be in a place where you're no longer being driven by them? How aware are you of mainstream media, mass mind, whatever? How aware are you of how they use your emotions to manipulate you? Now, you may want to go and investigate how advertisers and marketers are very, very clever in using psychology in order to get you to buy things. It is a truly remarkable art and science. And if it's used properly, it might be progressive. But boy, I'll tell you, the marketers and those people who are advertising, they don't care really about the recipient's response and whether it's for their well-being. They only care in how they deliver their message and how they can manipulate the recipients of their message in their own selfish manner. How aware are you of your emotions? How aware are you of how your hormones affect your emotions? Men are very much influenced by their testosterone. Testosterone is a very powerful influencer of emotions. We've been kind of hypnotized or sort of entrained in thinking that, you know, the worldwide wrestling and all these very aggressive acts of anger and upset are legitimate and beneficial. How is that the case? And we've also been kind of hypnotized into thinking that our sexuality is something that should be simply self-serving, and that probably isn't in there. So where are you in terms of your emotions? And women, when your moon time comes, how aware are you to be able to stop and go, you know, perhaps I am estrogen rich right now and consequently being influenced by our hormonal packages. We are influenced by our packaging and we are influenced by our hormones. So there's an investigation, an avenue of investigation into our emotions. And then the next body that we can pay attention to being in service of is our mental body. How mindful are you of your thoughts? Most people aren't. Most people tend to think things and think whatever it is they're thinking is who they are. They very seldom stop to evaluate where that thought comes from. Now, as Bruce Lipton says in his book, Biology of Belief, you are born into a belief system. So right out of the gate, the moment you are born into a belief system that isn't even yours. You chose it from, your soul chose to be born into it, but you may be born into a religion, you may be born into a modality of familial traditions and the like that may serve you, they may not serve you, but how aware are you of that? How aware are you of your parents' predisposition to raising the family? Some parents have a habit of repeating old patterns that they were raised in. That's very, very common. How aware are you of that? How aware are you of your formative thoughts? Here's a thought, and here it is. And where does that come from? Oh, right. I remember my grandfather, when I was 5, taught me how important it was to tend to a garden. And so isn't it interesting that me as an adult right now love to garden, and that came from when I was 5 years old in my grandmother and grandfather's garden, and they taught me how important it was. So that's a thought pattern. And equally so on the other side of thought patterns, the ones that are derogatory. So now we talk about the law of attraction by being mindful of these things and surrounding yourself with good body practices, good emotional practices, and good mental practices that provide service to the package through which you will allow your genius to express itself. Let's consider these things. It's food for thought. Thank you for allowing us to be of service.